Hey guys, Linda from Linda's Essential Science here. I've been trying to do this video for quite a while and I've done a couple of pilot runs, been interrupted by kids and always felt like it wasn't good enough. But I've given up and I'm just going to do a live video on Copaiba and a component in Copaiba that affects a particular system that we have. I've been really in and out researching this since doTERRA brought Copaiba out into the market last year at convention. And the thing that I've always been unsure of with Copaiba is exactly what it does in our system, and I don't like talking about an oil until I really understand what it does in our system. So I'm going to go through it in as much depth as I can without getting too chemical, too sciencey based. So we'll start from the start. There is a system in our body called the endocannabanoid system. Okay, this system is was found in the 1980s when scientists went searching for why and how cannabis, or marijuana, acts in our system and on our bodies. Why does it produce the effects it does? We didn't know the answer to this, so scientists started to look for a particular action in our system as to what was happening. So they found this system called the endocannabanoid system. Gosh, I'm never going to be able to say that properly. And that system is actually what the cannabis oil or the cannabis plant or the marijuana plant actually acts in our body. They found two different types of receptors. They found a CB1 receptor and a CB2 receptor. There's a couple of other little E's, but these are the two main ones. Now, what they discovered was that this system, and they really threw it away and thought it was kind of useless, but now we know that it's been around for millions of years. It's in pretty much every animal. It's even in some invertebrates. Our bodies, our species, have naturally selected it to stay there, so we know it's important. What we know now is that it is really crucial to homeostasis, to balancing our systems and to balancing our bodies. Now, these two different receptors are in different parts of our bodies and act on different systems. So CB1 is primarily in our central nervous system, so our brain, okay? Now CB2 is in our endocrine system, which is basically our hormones, our chemical messengers that send things throughout our system, and our immune system. Okay, so if you just think about breaking those two down. Now, cannabis oil, or the cannabis plant, has a couple of components in it that are cannabinoids, which means that they act on our endocannabinoid system, and they act upon the CB1 receptors primarily, which is why they have often psychotropic effects, okay? Psychoanalytic or psycholytic effects. Basically what that means is that like THC, which is the main the woohoo component of having marijuana, is what acts upon the CB1 receptors in our brain. Now, we know that CBD oil has a particular cannabinoid which acts upon the CB1 receptors without producing the psycholytic effects, okay? However, there is still a brain component that's happening, and there will be some adjustments and changes within the way we perceive things when we're using that particular oil. It's very calming to our system, or whether we're choosing to smoke the plant. THC is what's in marijuana, which gives us the marijuana effects that we know of. You think about what's in the brain too, there's appetite suppression, there's intracranial pressure issues, or things that these are all, and nausea, that sort of type of stuff can be really affected positively with anything that's affecting the CB1 receptors. Now, what we now know is that the CB2 is really important for regulating our inflammatory responses. So when the CB2 receptors are activated, they will downregulate our inflammatory response system. And when they're activated, they upregulate our immune response system. So we know these two things for facts. We also know that there's a particular component to some essential oils that doTERRA have stocked for a long time, things like black pepper, melissa, ylang ylang, oregano. I'm sure there's a couple of extras that I can't think of off the top of my head, but those oils have a chemical component in them called BCP, beta-caryophyllene. Okay, now this beta-caryophyllene actually binds to the CB2 receptors and does nothing with the CB1 receptors. So this means that we can upregulate our immune responses and downregulate our inflammatory responses beautifully by using a particular oil with BCP in it. Now, The other problem that CBD oil has, cannabinoid oil, is that you need quite a lot of it. It's not super bioreadily available, and it disappears out of our system very, very quickly. So basically, to get the enhanced effects of it, you're having to take quite a lot of it. BCP, you don't need so much. So they were really excited when they discovered the Copaiba oil has a really high concentration of BCP in it, somewhere between 50 to 70% depending on the season, depending on the distilling process and all the rest of it. So beta-carotene, which is in Copaiba in those high concentrations, is a really amazing way of supporting your endocannabinoid system, the CB2 receptors. So how would I use it? I use it aromatically. I often pop a couple of drops in with something else while I'm overnight, while I'm sleeping, so I'm always getting an aromatic dose throughout the day. I use it topically because topically is incredibly potent to getting a targeted response, so I'll dilute it down, like today, twinge the back a little bit. So I popped some ice blue, but I threw in a couple of extra drops of Copaiba into that area because I know that it's going to be a targeted response to the CB2 receptors that are in that particular area, and it's going to help downregulate that inflammatory response. One of the most potent ways is to take it internally, and the reason I've brought this up now is that doTERRA now have the soft gels available, so you can actually take it really easily in a soft gel form, and you take one a couple of times a day if you're looking for regular sort of system support, for that homeostatic support, or to upregulate that immune system or downregulate your inflammatory response system. So it's the BCP in it that's doing all of these particular things. I find it amazing, and for me it's regular use that I seem to notice the difference with, and having those soft gels has been really awesome. I honestly didn't think I would use them, but I find taking them really internally rather than just sublingually under the tongue has been much more effective for my system. So hopefully that gives you a really basic outline of the endocannabinoid system, what it really means. What's interesting to note too is the beta-carotene of the Copaiba actually binds really beautifully with the cell receptor, as opposed to the CBD oil, which actually just stimulates the cell receptor. When you get that binding, you get a longer action that generally happens, as opposed to just a stimulation of that receptor site. So yeah, I actually did that a lot better than in my previous videos that I've been trying to do. It's hard to get all of that down into a way that makes some sort of sense. I tend to find the information on the internet is either very lay or very, very science, and I sat through an hour lecture on it and really took nothing away the other day. So this is my take on things. If you've got questions about anything in particular, anything specific, let me know. But have a lovely, lovely day. Enjoy the warm weather. See you later, guys.